Hello YouTube, here is an update about my system and my garden. My small 10 meter by 10 meter garden. This is it. It started to rain now. We had a drought for about 3 weeks or so. And the yellow iris, I still have a few flowers to pop open. In the wild they are already gone, so I must have some sort of microclimate here. But they were spectacular. I can't say anything else. I never had that many flowers in my system. But I have been playing a bit with the new Venturi air system. This is all just an experiment, so that is why you see this ugly pipe in the water. It's not nice, but it is functional because now I can see the bubbles and what happens when I make some adjustments. Because here I have a little adjuster, and when I turn this I get more bubbles. But I don't want to see those large bubbles, so I turn it down. And what you can see on this video is that this system makes micro bubbles. Because the pipe is too deep, you can't see it, but I can assure you that there are micro bubbles and they get carried throughout the entire system. And it is much better as what I had. My grass is growing fine. I used some charcoal and fish manure to make it better, because it was not looking very healthy. And this area was completely gone with grass because the previous year I left a lot of branches that I had cut off from this shrub, and I left them on the grass all winter, so all the grass was dead, so I had to reseed it, and now it's looking great again. Only that one has flowered this year. Maybe I get some more. It looks like it, but I'm not sure. I planted this one. It still lives, but it has a hard time surviving because we had a heat wave. And the new addition to the garden, the rose plant. It was the most sunny place left in my garden, so I planted it here. I put this here because the birds like to take out the wood chips. And then I have to clean it up again. But the wood chips are there to protect against water evaporation. And fungi love the wood chips, and the fungi help the plant to get nutrients. So it has a double function. The microorganisms are the center of the focus in this case. But I put it back so that the birds get discouraged, so that my rose can grow. In the beginning I give it not enough water, so a few leaves suffered a little bit, but now I know how to water it, and all the flower buds opened up, almost all, and it is doing really well. I can't wait to see it grow. Hopefully it does. So that's my rose. This is a look at the pond side. These are all separated bins. And they are connected together below the water line at 2 different levels in most cases. So the fish can swim around, and they do. But they are a little bit shy, especially when I'm walking around with a camera. They never like that for some reason. When you point something at them, they hide. Here is my first temperature gauge that I bought last week or so. And the funny thing about the temperature gauge is that it cannot get hot or else it stops working. So I had to put this piece of wood there to protect it from the sun so that it keeps working. But the water couldn't be more perfect. It is 20 degrees. And during the day, when the sun is shining very bright, it will go up about half a degree or so. And during the night it cools down again, and that is just absolutely perfect. Especially when you keep in mind that my entire system holds only about 5 cubic meters of water. And now we come to the very special side of the system, and that are my grow beds. Why that dinner plate is there, don't ask me. These are garden crest and East Indonesian crest. I have several of the Indonesian crest, and believe it or not, those 2 plants are going to cover this entire area. So at the end of the summer you will not see any of the regular garden crest. I seeded the garden crest, and it does very well because I don't have a greenhouse yet. In order to use this system at the most optimal way, you need to have a greenhouse so that you can seed, and then you grow the seedlings and you take them out the greenhouse and you remove the earth and you put them in the system. But I can't do that yet, so I know that garden crest will grow everywhere, so I seed garden crest just to have something in the bin. And I used to have a whole row of chive, but a lot of it didn't survive the fluctuating winter temperatures and the night frost. So a few didn't make it and a few did, and they will grow into a big bush again. And over here, this this is also an experiment. This is laurel. It's starting to become a big tree, and it started as a cutoff from another laurel that I have in the corner of my garden. And it had no roots, no nothing. I did nothing to prepare it or whatever you can do. I just stuck it in the rocks and it started growing. That's how it went. And sometimes it turned completely yellow, and sometimes the leaves were almost all gone, but it kept fighting and it kept growing, and now it is starting to become nice and green again. And this plant was going good at the beginning of the year, but then it started to turn yellow again. And I know that I had done one thing different this year. I had some clay that I got from some seeds to make seed balls for poppy flowers. And I used some of that clay and I sprinkled it in this bin. And that must have been a really good thing for the plants because they were growing nice and green. But after a while they started to turn yellow again. So now I bought some dedicated pond clay, and I think that the minerals were the issue because this new leaf is greener than it used to be, and you see a little bit more dark green coming back again. It was much yellower. And the same here. It started very, very, very green and lush, and then it started to yellow up on me again. So I added the pond clay minerals, and now it wants to become green again, but it will never turn fully green again. But I just wait until the new leaves are coming up. And then I pick away the ones that are a bit yellow, and then it will function great again and look great again. These are two other chives that survived the winter. I think that it is because they are at the most sunny spot of the system, so they get warmed up a little bit more than anything else. So it goes with ups and downs. And this is another peculiar thing, also one big experiment. This is a movable planter. It is pretty big, and the thing with this is that it is holding water too much. The plants I bought when it was still freezing, we still had night frosts. So when you buy them, they look much, much, much better, but I have to keep them indoors for a few weeks, and that wasn't good for them. Then it started to warm up, and I planted them in this planter, and I started watering them, but I noticed that they were not growing, but that they started to die. And I didn't understand it. So at some point in time I stopped watering them, and then they started to grow again and start to become nice and dark green, and they started to flower. So what I have now is it's not a greenhouse, because normally this construction is not on there, but that is protection for the rain that is falling down right now as I speak. It's just a little bit rain, but it is raining, and I hope that it will keep the water out. Maybe that I will tell you at a later time what I did to make this planter, but it is not an ordinary planter. It has some special features as an experiment, because I like to experiment a lot. About everything you see here is all an experiment. I don't grow food for consumption. I do this all just to keep my fish happy. I started a little pond, I put some fish in it, and I want them to be happy. That is all. And I wanted to do it in a way that is as natural as possible. This is my sump tank. This will go up and down as water gets pumped into there. The level of this tank will lower, and at a certain level these bins will drain themselves with a siphon system, and via that pipe it will drain back into this sump tank. But this sump tank is the middle of a figure 8. You have my pond, that is the lower part of the 8. The sump tank is the middle, and this is the top. And the water circulates between them. This is my vortex filter or radial flow filter, whatever you want to call it. And I have this cloth on it as protection against the sun, because I still need to make some nice wooden enclosure. And this thing is my water tower. It has 2 filters. Where is my hand? 1 filter at the bottom and 1 filter at the top. And in there, in that corner, is a water pump. It pumps water to there. It splits up in 2 directions. One goes to the top filter. It flows down in this pipe. It goes up and it feeds the grow bed. The water that goes to the right goes into the radial flow filter. It flows in the bottom filter. It goes into a pipe that goes under the ground, and it goes under the ground that direction, and it goes between here, and the water comes up over there like a spring, and then it flows around my entire pond, and it comes out in that corner. And then there is a pipe under the ground that goes all the way to there, and then the water comes out in that corner. You can't see it, but there is a pipe that is exactly at the right height in order to keep my pond at the same level at all times. My pond never changes the height of the water level. So that is how the system works. Not in detail, because there are so many details. If I start explaining all the details, it would be a 20-minute video. Oh wait, it already is a 20-minute video. Well, I can talk forever about this stuff. This is my Buxus bush. Excuse me. It was under attack from an invasive Buxus moth, but it is recovering because the birds have found out that they can eat the caterpillars. But I also added a lot of biomass, and that attracts birds. Over here the same, a lot of biomass, and because we have so many farm animals we get a lot of nitrogen pollution. So I also put some bigger wood here, and they say that bigger wood will catch nitrogen. Normally other countries are craving for nitrogen in the soil, but we already have too much. So that is why I put the bigger pieces of wood there. And well, I can't say that it is doing bad. It all looks very great. I have multiple species of trees growing at 1 square meter. This is a hazelnut. I don't know all the names in English. You have to look it up for yourself. In the corner in the back is another laurel. That's how green they should look. So my laurel in the bin is not doing great, but it is going better. And this is another hazelnut. I keep them small because I don't want to annoy the neighbors too much. Some fish. I will get some food so that we can see the fish. Wait a second. Again, the fish can swim around. They choose to be there. They can be there, or they can be there. Let's wait. I don't know why they don't show up. And this happens when you try to do things with one hand. That's not very smart, because now I have to clean it up, otherwise I get a lot of mice. So I will be back in a second. Well, most of it is gone, but the mice will have a good few days. And in the meanwhile, where am I? The fish had a good meal. But I never got the chance to catch this. There is one. You see? They don't like it when a camera is pointed at them. But there are plenty fish, I can assure you that, and new ones are on their way. You can hear the fish food cracking under my feet. It all started out with that little bin in the middle and this one which I got for free. And speaking about for free, these stone tiles were for free. This frame was for free. That wood was for free. Part of that wood was for free. I have put rubber tiles in the back as extra protection against heat or temperature changes. That was also for free. This wood was also for free. Here's my other temperature gauge, 20.2 degrees. I will put it aside for a moment so that you can see my radial flow filter. This was also for free. This was for free. Now we can see the mosquitoes escape. This is my radial flow filter, and the water comes in through that little pipe down below. This is just to keep the bucket centered. And the water goes down in a pipe and it has two exits that point in a certain direction so that the water slowly turns like this. And the solids can settle, and that way my pond filter doesn't get clogged up. And you can see the bacteria. That is not, those are not solids from the fish, but those are bacteria. And I have put some brushes in there, 3, to get extra surface area for the bacteria, for the aerobic bacteria. And when there are enough solids at the bottom, I can drain them with this valve. But like I said, I need to make a nice enclosure for this so that it's looking a little bit better. But it is still a work in progress. And this branch, this stick, I use for getting things out of the water if they don't belong there, or to unclog things or whatever. This plant basket I bought after the frost, and it was already looking like that. So it is doing great. And this is my own work. I seeded those myself early in the year, but the night frost kept them from sprouting and growing. But now we have warm temperatures, and now they want to grow. So these type of flowers can survive the winter, so I hope that next year they will be more established, and that they will grow faster and more lush. But they are trying, so I still have a little bit hope that I will see some more flowers this year. And it is pretty much the same story with this one. They want to come, but the weather was just not good enough for them to grow quickly. And I hope that now that the weather is warm, that they will grow faster. We will see. They have no problem at all with the wood chips. It's just that we had this really nasty night frosts. And over here, don't mind the air hoses, because I am experimenting with the air. But over here I am trying to grow some poppy seeds, and they are trying to pop up. But it is not a huge success so far. But we will see. I seeded some other seeds, and I have no clue what kind of flowers these are. I really can't tell you. The same thing over here. There were some things growing, but that didn't survive. Over here things are looking a little bit better, and we will see what kind of flowers will come out. Over here I seeded some pepper plants. Not a great success. Not at all, because they all should have pepper plants, but I only have 2, and one seed that fell on the side is growing better than the ones that I seeded on purpose. So I must have done something wrong. My experiment was not a great success, but also not a complete loss. I cherish the 3 pepper plants that are growing, but I don't think that I am going to see any fruits this year. But it was a nice learning experience. So that is pretty much my system. Ooh, I stand up a little bit too quickly. It's turning black in front of my eyes. I will put this back, because I don't want too much mosquitoes. I will do that. There you go. It's back. One important feature that I want to mention is this foam. This foam completely surrounds the sump tank, except on the bottom. On the bottom there is nothing. And the foam goes all the way down. And this helps to protect against sudden temperature changes. It also helps to extend the season a little. And all my plumbing that is above the ground is insulated, except for the elbow, but you get what I mean. And this is all done to keep temperature changes under control. But I have done the same thing over here. Look, there's the fish. I have done the same thing with these 2 bins. These 2 bins are completely surrounded by foam to protect them against frost or heat. That's a nice big fish, right? It is too big for the bin, to be honest. But I did not know that they would grow so big. But it is a very difficult fish to keep because it requires the exact conditions for them to thrive. But anyway, I was distracted, not by a squirrel, but by a fish. So these tanks are completely surrounded by foam, and that helps to keep the temperature changes under control. It doesn't matter that it gets cold. What matters is that the microorganisms do not like big, sudden, unexpected changes. They can live with a certain rhythm of changes, but when you disturb that rhythm, that will be a problem. They don't like rhythm changes. So when you can keep everything under control, temperature-wise, that is the most ideal situation. It can go up half a degree during the day, it can go down half a degree during the night. But when it goes up 2 degrees during the day and when it goes down 2 degrees during the night, that can be too much. So you want to keep the changes under control, and that is in every situation, no matter how or where you grow food. If it is in the desert, if it is in the jungle, if it is in a wetland, it doesn't matter. If you want to grow food and you want to grow successfully, you want to make the microorganisms happy, and you want to keep changes, any change at all, under control. You do not want to make them too dry. If it is dry, you don't want to make them too wet, too sudden. You have to be very, very careful with big, sudden changes. That is the lesson that I have learned from keeping this system. Part of it I have been doing for 20 years now. This part I have for about 6 or 7 years, 6 years I think. And the big lesson that I have learned is that the microorganisms like very stable conditions as much as possible, as long as possible. And when you do that, things start to grow. And then they start to turn yellow, and then you learn that you need to add minerals. Or a big bird comes by and it steals half of your fish in one day or one night. So that is why I put up the electric fence, but it is not energized. I can energize it, but then I have to make sure that not a single leaf is touching the wire, and that is an issue. Because I also want to have some plants. They were there. There they are. They can swim over at 2 different levels. There are 4 holes, and they like to do that. But the wire still keeps the bird out. And the same with this. It is also electric fence wire because it is very durable. It has steel wire inside that doesn't rust, and that keeps the herons out. The heron is the pretty much the only animal that is a problem for me. I don't have bears or wolves or other large predators or deer. That is not an issue here, but the herons are. So it is a bit long video, but it is what it is. I hope that you enjoyed watching. See you next time, and I hope that I can keep it shorter next time. Bye bye.